Welcome back, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, to another reading of A Starstruck Legacy. This will be Chapter 12, Kathleen Bate versus the World. Here's the summary. It's up to Star and Stripe to save Inko from the clutches of All for One. Unfortunately for her, she'll have to fight her way to the top. As soon as the broadcast ended, Toshinori, Kathleen, and Izuku met up at Might Tower to discuss the situation. Toshinori also arranged for a driver to pick Eri up from the Bakugo house since Mitsuki was babysitting her at the time of Inko's kidnapping. "I can't believe it!" Izuku yelled as he frustratedly paced the room. "I thought this all-for-one guy was evil, but to go and kidnap my mother? I swear by my entire All Might collection that he is going to regret the day he was born." Young Midoriya. I mean, of all the things he could have done, he had to go and make things personal. I hope he's aware of the absolute beatdown coming his way. Hello, young Midoriya. The moment I get my hands on his smug little face, I swear that I'm gonna— Young Midoriya, Toshinori shouted. Huh? Izuku paused his rant and looked up, where he saw that the room was almost entirely covered in black whip, the tendrils binding his two mentors in rather compromising positions. Can you please stop strangling me? Kathleen choked out as she fought a whip that tightened around her neck. Oh, sorry about that. He immediately retracted Black Whip. I'm just so crossed with All for One. I just want to tear his face off like All Might did. That's good. What else? Kudo egged him on. Next, I'm going to rip his limbs off so many times that it breaks his regeneration quirks. Okay. Oh, then what? I'll grind his body into a fine paste, then use it to brush my teeth. That's good, but I think we can go further. Second, stop trying to push Ninth towards murder, Nana scolded. Oh, please. We've all tried to kill Butt for One at this point. Heck, even Eighth crushed his skull into a bloody pulp. He's just a child, Second. He can leave the killing up to Toshi or Kathy. It doesn't matter what I want to do to All for One, Izuku continued. As long as my mom's there, I can't do anything. He turned to Kathleen and shot her a deadly serious look. Star, Kathleen, right now you're the only one who All for One can let get anywhere near him. Can I trust that you'll save my mom? I promise, kid. Kathleen grinned. As long as this heart is still beating and these veins keep pumping blood, there will not be a single force from the universe that will keep me apart from your mom. I hope so. You still have to take her out for a second date, he said with a wink, causing Kathleen's cheeks to brighten ever so slightly. Joking aside, the moment you teleport Mom to safety, me and All Might will come in for support. Toshinori let out a small laugh. Young Midoriya, I'll be honest with you. I don't like that you're doing this. I promised you and your mother that All for One would be my fight, not yours. I know, All Might, but that agreement flew out the window the moment he decided to get her involved. I am aware, my boy. As long as I'm aware that I cannot physically stop you from doing this, and I'm sure it goes without saying you'll most likely have to be punished afterwards. He's right about that, Kathleen added. If the number one heroes of two countries let a child fight the symbol of evil, that would be bad press on all fronts. Expel me from UA, lock me up in Tartarus, take away my merch for all I care. My conviction is set in stone, Izuku declared. Yeah, I figured. Now, before I head out, I'd like to know who this All for One guy really is, so I can use my quirk on him if the situation calls for it. That's a good idea. Yoichi, what's his name? Right. All for One's true name has been lost to time for centuries. He may well be the only person alive who knows it. Thankfully, he didn't account for me. His real name is... Yoichi paused for dramatic effect. Hisashi Midoriya. What? Izuku yelled. Nah, just kidding. It's Reiji Shigaraki. Oh, phew. Izuku sighed in relief. You nearly gave me a heart attack there. It's Reiji Shigaraki, he said to Kathleen. Great. Now I just gotta use New Order on myself so I'm immune to overhaul. Let me do that. You need the extra order to get my mom to safety. Izuku placed a hand on Kathleen's shoulder and called upon his version of New Order. Kathleen Bates' molecular structure has the strongest possible bonds. Hopefully that makes it so that All for One can't take your quirk either, since you won't be able to separate your quirk from the rest of your body. Smart thinking. I knew I made a good choice picking you as a successor. She ruffled Izuku's hair before standing up and making her way to the door. I'd say wish me luck, kid, but I already got the skills that kills. Kathleen threw the door open, ready to leave, but she was met with a small, white-haired girl on the other side. She looked at the heroes in the room with tears in her eyes. She remained silent, but her expression told them everything. Izuku immediately went over and picked up his sister into a tearful hug. "Oh, Eri, I'm so sorry you have to deal with this. Is Mama gonna be okay?" Eri sobbed into Izuku's shoulder. "She'll be fine, I promise. Miss Beta's gonna get Mom to safety, and then your big brother's gonna beat up the bad guy." Hey, kiddo." Kathleen leaned down to Eri's level and gave her an assuring smile. "He'll be all right. I'm here. I won't let the bad man hurt your mom." She stuck out her pinky towards the girl. "Pinky promise?" "Pinky promise." Eri sniffled as she wrapped her pinky around Kathleen's. Throughout all of human history, a stronger pact had never been formed up to that moment. In a heavily fortified compound about 25 miles from the middle of nowhere, Izuku Midoriya sat tied and blindfolded in an oversized armchair. She didn't know exactly where she was, but she knew who kidnapped her. All Might had warned her about the immortal, quirk-stealing boogeyman, but she always thought herself too inconsequential to serve any purpose in whatever plan he had cooked up. Unfortunately, she forgot that when battling heroes, villains like him always went for the heart. Normally, someone in a position like hers would be indescribably scared for her life, and Izuku was, at least for about the first half hour. After that, All For One started droning on about good and evil and how he would use his newfound power to take over Japan or something. It reminded Izuku of the villains from the All Might cartoons Izuku used to watch, the kind that were so over the top they couldn't be taken seriously. It seriously dampened the intimidation factor in her eyes.
"Soon, New Order will be mine. Then, taking one for all will be a breeze. Once both quirks are in my possession, that will mark the end for not only the symbol of peace, but all of Hero Society," All For One declared. Izuku felt like she had heard this exact same speech a million times. If she just used her quirk, she could hold his tongue and get him to shut up. Unfortunately, she was blindfolded, and her quirk didn't work if she couldn't see. "Excuse me, Mr. All For One?" Izuku spoke up, desperate to get him to talk about anything else. "Is there any particular reason why you want to destroy Hero Society?" All For One chuckled sinisterly in response to Inko's question. "Oh, Miss Midoriya, your ignorance amuses me. How else am I supposed to live up to my name as the symbol of evil?"
"Yes, but why are you the symbol of evil? What made you want to start the largest criminal empire in Japan?"
He scoffed. "Such motivations for my actions would fly right over your feeble little head."
"Oh, well then I guess I'll just—"
"All right, you've convinced me."
Izuku heard the sound of All For One sitting in a chair across from her.
"I believe it all started when me and my brother were born during the dawn of quirks."
Izuku rolled her eyes at the blatant display of narcissism as she spoke up to respond. "Yes, I've only heard stories about that time. Was it really as bad as the history books say?"
"Oh, much worse than that. My turmoil started before I could even open my eyes. You see, my mother died after she gave birth to us by the riverbank."
"What?"
"Quite tragic, I know. Anyways, by the time I had gained sentience, the rats had just finished devouring her corpse."
"Wait, you gained sentience that quickly?"
"Then I was forced to swim me and my brother to safety just to avoid being eaten."
"You learned to swim despite being less than an hour old?"
"Quite an impressive feat, I know."
Izuku did not buy this hastily cobbled together excuse for a backstory for a single second, but she knew better than to tell that to her captor. "Okay, moving on. How would you describe your childhood?" Star and Stripe dropped the order that allowed her to fly as she landed in front of All For One's compound, just where he said it would be. She clenched her fists, ready to smash through the building and come out with Izuku in her grasp, but she suddenly paused as the weather around her shifted faster than humanly possible. Dark clouds came out of nowhere and filled the sky, and the crackling of thunder emanated from all directions. Just then, 4 figures burst out of the compound and assumed fighting stances. "Who the heck are you people?" Star asked.
"I simply go by 9,
said a man with white hair, a lavender suit, and a black mask with purple highlights.
"We were summoned here to weaken your resolve so that it would be easier for your quirk to be stolen."
"And you actually agreed to be cannon fodder?" Star assumed a fighting position of her own. "He must pay you pretty well."
"That may be what All For One thinks, but once me and my crew defeat you, I'll take your quirk for myself and—"
Star interrupted Nine's monologue with a punch to his face, sending the man flying. "I know it's considered bad faith to interrupt a villain's monologue, but I don't have any time for this." You'll pay for that!" yelled a woman with scarlet red hair, which seemed to be in fire off in strands towards Star, who quickly somersaulted out of the way. "You're too slow, Slice!" shouted a man with blue fur and a dog-like head. "Here's how you do it!" He lunged at Star and swiped his claws at her, to which she sidestepped the attack and countered with a punch to the abdomen. As the beast man groaned in pain, Slice shot several long strands of her hair at Star, who expertly weaved out of the way before grabbing one and nearly crushing it in her grasp. She yanked on the hair as hard as she could, pulling Slice right towards her and allowing her to deliver a devastating smash to the gut. As Slice coughed up spittle, Star held her up by the hair and looked at her incredulously. "So your quirks got something to do with your hair, huh?" Without waiting for an answer, Star positioned her hand right above Slice's scalp and cut off nearly all of her hair in one clean chop. "My hair!" Slice exclaimed as she fell to her knees. "Don't celebrate just yet," said a voice from behind. Star turned to see the beast man had recovered and was seemingly powering up his animalistic features as they became more and more pronounced. "Because I'm just getting warmed up." "Mess 'em up, Chimera!" Slice cheered. Star ignored her as she prepared to go in for another punch, but stopped when she saw just what Chimera was doing. Some sort of laser shined in his mouth, a light not too dissimilar from the ones of the laser blasters on the jets she usually rode on. "I can hold lasers," Star muttered to herself as she shifted into a catching position. Chimera blasted the attack right at her, and she grabbed the beam of light with relative ease. "What the?" Chimera's jaw dropped. "Looks like you don't know what I'm capable of." Star held the laser like a baseball and swung it at Chimera. "Batter up!" It only took one strike to send him flying beyond the horizon. "All right, what about you?" Star turned and pointed at the fourth member of the group, a man covered nearly head to toe in red bandages. "You haven't done anything this entire match. What's your deal?" "Well, my quirk only works if I have objects to wrap my bandages around. Unfortunately, we're about 25 miles from the middle of nowhere. I don't have much to work with." "Oh, so do you just want me to do this the easy way, or—" "That sounds nice." The bandaged man simply fell to the ground and pretended to be defeated. "Sure, that works. I guess I'll just—" Star's instinct suddenly took over, and she quickly turned and caught a small purple laser aimed right at her head. "So, I guess you're back for round 2? "Indeed I am," Nine said as he menacingly strolled up to the hero. "You might have thought you had taken me down before, but a will as indomitable as mine is—" Star interrupted him again and went for another punch, but Nine was prepared. He blocked the attack by summoning several thick yellow barriers layered on top of each other. "Predictable to the last," he droned. "How's this for predictable?" Star grabbed the barriers out of the air and bashed Nine over the head with them, instantly knocking him out. "That was a nice warm-up, all for one," Star taunted as she dusted off her hands. "But are you going to let me in, or do I have to fight another one of your goons?" Seemingly as a response, the ground began violently shaking beneath Kath's feet. Before she could chalk it up to a sudden earthquake, a large, brown, muscly figure rose from behind the compound and let out a fierce roar.
"You!"
The mountain-sized man dramatically pointed at Star.
"I am Gigantomachia, and you are the person Lord wanted me to crush. Prepare to be beaten."
Star simply shot the giant a fierce smirk. "Well, I'm sure you'll find that difficult when—" "The atmosphere around me will solidify to 1,000 times my size." Within seconds, Star stood at an impressive 6,400 feet, 1,950.72 meters, which absolutely dwarfed Gigantomachia's 82 feet, 25 meters.
"Oh no,"
Machia squeaked. Indeed, Kathleen reached down and grabbed the mountain man in one hand before chucking him like a baseball. Thankfully, she made it so he would land somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, so she made sure no one would get hurt. Meanwhile, somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean—
"Oh boy, what a great day it is for a cult leader like me to be on a boat out at sea,"
said Flecked Turn, the villain of the third My Hero Academia movie, World Heroes Mission.
"Hold on, what's that in the sky?"
He peered up to see a small brown speck descended upon him.
"Oh my lord, it's some kind of large man, and he's coming right towards me."
Flecked Turn instinctively flinched as he prepared for his imminent demise, only for his quirk to reflect the large man and send him soaring in the opposite direction.
"Dear lord, I'm alive. My quirk saved my life. Maybe it's not so much a burden as I thought it was. In fact, the moment I get home, I'm dismantling my entire cult."
Kathleen was just about to revoke her order and turn the atmosphere back to normal when she saw Gigantomachia hurtling towards her at the same speed she threw him. Thankfully, she managed to catch him in time. What the heck happened to you? You know what? Doesn't matter. She ended up stomping him into the ground to bury and immobilize him. The earth jolted upon his contact with the ground. Inko flinched as she heard a large rumbling from outside. What was that?
Oh, it's probably just Gigantomachia wailing on Star and Stripe. Don't worry, I ordered him to not touch the compound.
Why is he beating her up? I thought you wanted her quirk.
If she's weakened, then she'll put up less resistance when I take her quirk. Am I the only one here who knows anything about quirks?
Sorry? But let's get back to our conversation. You said you had to do illegal things to survive?
Yes. All for One nodded solemnly. Growing up during the dawn of quirks was a tumultuous experience, to say the least. The government tracked down and tried to contain us quirked folk for the crime of merely existing.
That sounds horrible.
It was. In order to survive and protect my fragile little brother, I had to reach the top of the metaphorical food chain. Sure, it required murder, manipulation, and malpractice, but that's just what you have to do to get by back then.
Including becoming the shadow ruler of the underworld? That seems a bit excessive.
I only wanted the best for my brother. He deserved only the highest quality bank vaults.
Well, I'm no therapist, but it seems to me like you've subconsciously held onto that mindset from the dawn of quirks and never let go of it. That, plus the fact that you never got over your brother's betrayal and death, has given you an obsession with gaining both power and powerful quirks. All for One sat in silence for a short moment to digest that information. Eventually, though, he reached an epiphany.
Of course! It all makes sense. All for One shot out of his chair. I have an obsession with obtaining power, and the only way for me to kick that behavior to the curb is to finally steal one for all and become the Demon Lord of Japan. Once I have all the power in the world, I won't be obsessed anymore.
That's not exactly what I had in mind, Inko nervously pointed out, but All for One ignored her.
Thank you, Izuku Midoriya. You've helped me find an even greater motivation for my goals. You're truly like the mother I've never had, because my birth mother got eaten by rats.
Inko still seriously doubted that backstory.
You know, after Star and Stripe gave me her quirk, I planned on double-crossing her and killing you anyways, but now I think I'd rather lock you in a bank vault for the rest of your life.
Wait, you can't do that. I have a son.
Then I'll lock him in a bank vault as well, after I steal his quirks, of course.
In fact, I just might use Overhaul to turn your chair into a vault right now. Before All for One could lay a hand on Inko or her chair, he felt a firm grip on his shoulder.
If Reiji Shigaraki moves even a millimeter, his brain will explode,
Star said in a cold turn. All for One didn't waste any time turning around and planting a hand on Star and Stripe's face. What? Why didn't it work? Star exclaimed as she tried to pry the quirk boogeyman's hand off of her.
I haven't gone by that name in decades, you foolish hero. No matter. Before you say goodbye to your quirk, say goodbye to your physical form.
He activated Overhaul and tried to reshape the hero into a lumpy, limbless ball of flesh, but nothing happened. In a quick act of desperation, he activated All for One to try and take her quirk, but he felt nothing.
What? Why didn't it work?
Because that kid is a genius, that's why. Star took advantage of the villain's momentary confusion to uppercut him as hard as she physically could, sending him through the roof of the compound. Without a moment of hesitation, she dashed over to Inko and tapped her on the shoulder.
Izuku Midoriya is at Might Tower.
The moment the words left her mouth, Inko teleported away and Kathleen breathed a sigh of relief. The relief did not last long, however. All for One crashed into the compound and landed on his feet. He smirked at Star as he charged up a purple ball of energy in his hands.
You may have freed the hostage, but now you're down in order, and I doubt your strength alone will be enough. Face it, Star, as long as you value Izuku Midoriya's safety, you have no chance of defeating me.
I might not, but he does. Star pointed at a nearby wall. All for One turned to the wall in confusion.
What? Who does?
Not a moment later, a green blur burst through the opposite wall with such a speed it broke the sound barrier and decked All for One across the face.
Smash!
It was at this moment All for One knew he messed up. And that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoy listening. The next chapter should be out sometime soon, as soon as I can manage. Thank you all so much for listening. Patch out.